There's something you need to know about nursing homes. Neglect and abuse have been happening for decades, but most people don't know it until they're in it. And by then, it's often too late. I know because it happened to my mom. Change is urgently needed because decades of traditional advocacy hasn't been enough to break a system that resists accountability. So we're doing something different. On September 27th, the ROAR movement is launching the first ever national walk for long-term care reform. Reform requires public pressure. It requires visibility, and visibility requires presence. We already have walk leaders in states across the country, and we're looking for a few more people to step forward and lead. Not because you have all the answers, but because you care enough to begin. This is your chance to make a real difference by thinking nationally and working locally, because the power of the people has always been greater than the people in power.
When the world has got you down.
Alzheimer's sucks. It's an equal opportunity disease that chips away at everything we hold dear. And to date, there's no cure. So until there is, we continue to fight with the most powerful tool in our arsenal, love. This is Love Conquers Alls, a real and really positive podcast that takes a deep dive into everything Alzheimer's, the good, the bad, and everything in between. And now, here are your hosts, Susie Singer-Carter and me, Don Priest.
Hello, it's Susie Singer-Carter.
And I'm Don Priest, and this is Love Conquers Alls. Hello, Susan.
Hi, Donald. How are you?
I'm
Did you hear me?
good.
Was that too low? I was trying to be like,
Well, it was very
trying
dramatic.
to shake up my personality. I was trying to shake
Yeah.
up my personality because,
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm tired of coming off like a cheerleader all the time. All right, I was
Well,
trying to
that
be like
was,
very
very-
adult, very Maria Shriver. No?
Yeah.
Doesn't work for
well,
me.
I mean, it wasn't like a cheerleader. It was like a kind of like a foreign film. Very
Noir?
yeah, exactly. But it was effective. It
I
kinda
like
worked.
it then. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Back
Go
to
that
my
route.
acting days. Yeah. when I used to be an actress and I wasn't in caregiving and talking about this all the time, which is important. And I'm glad I'm here. I'm not complaining. I love it.
I'm complaining.
You are complaining, but that's not
Yeah.
you.
How's
your mom?
That's true. My mom, it's interesting. You know, for those who don't know, my mom has Parkinson's dementia, and she's at a stage now where, I mean, she's not mobile anymore, and she's in a actually a really good facility right now. She went in with a stage 4 bed sore from the other place that she was at, and they've completely healed it, which is amazing. But she's in a stage now where she talks a lot, but they're not words. It's mainly sounds. You can see her as that she's having a conversation, but there's no words, or very few, occasional. We went in this weekend, and she's talking, and I'd say 80% of the things that came out of her mouth were words. And there were some coherent sentences here and there.
That's so fun. That's
bizarre,
so great.
'cause it's been such a long time since we heard anything even close to that. So we don't know. We don't know
what it is. But you best be grateful for it because, it's like when
we took it
when
in.
my mom wasn't talking and all of a sudden she just out of nowhere, like 2 months down the line, just goes, "Hey, I love you." Like just full on, "Hello, Mom," for 5
I was
5
there.
seconds.
I heard it.
You were
I can
there.
swear to it.
I mean, it's like so bizarre when they just and it's like running a marathon, right? Because it's so. I told her that. Remember, I was like, "Oh my God, Mom, what did you just do? You just pulled words from your brain, and you held them there, carried them down to the mechanics." And you still remembered it, and then it came out with all the emotion and the feeling that you ever had.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So maybe your mom's like relaxing into, because sometimes they're fighting. I feel like, I don't know, I'm just talking out of my tushy, but I think sometimes they're so the anxiety ridden because this change is so abrupt. We forget that they're dealing with it. And it's bizarre.
Every day,
it's difficult.
Every moment. I mean, literally every moment. She's in a place she doesn't know where she is.
And a brain
really.
she doesn't know. her brain is
Yes.
doing, she's having hallucinations and she knows it. That has got to be so scary.
Yeah. No,
To have
it's
to know that you're in it. It feels real, and then you're saying, "But I know it's not real," because that's what your mom would do. She would say,
Oh, she
I
did,
see this
and-
and this and this."
yeah. Early on, she would literally say, she'd tell me about the little boy that next to her, and he's knitting something for her, and she's literally reaching out, and she's taking it from her, and then she's telling me that she's in another place. She's at my grandma and grandpa's place, which of course they haven't been around for decades. But she's there right now, and can you tell my brother to come pick me up? And I'm like, Mom, look around. Oh, yeah. Oh, where are you? I'm in my room. But can you still have him pick me up? Because she was literally in two places at once.
Yeah, it's like it's like a dream. You're dreaming. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's a whole other conversation. Yeah. But that's actually, so that's a good thing because she's feeling, at least she's relaxed, and that's good. And that's what you want, right? And that she feels safe and I love that.
And it could be next time we come back and she's back to we don't know, and we'll see.
You don't know.
It's
but
every moment changes.
You take it. Yeah, you take what you can get, right? And that's good.
We took the wonderful moment of hearing her say words again, which was great.
Yeah, connection. That's good.
Yep.
I love that.
Yes.
We have a great guest today.
We do. We really
because
do.
we're going to talk about some things that we haven't talked about before. Really, so.
Which after 119 episodes is really a challenge.
It's really a challenge.
You think you've covered everything.
But there's so much more to cover. But this is good. I'm excited about it because even though it's of course it's in dementia and Alzheimer's, but it's a different manifestation and typology of it. So let's get to it. Because we've got so much to say. We already did a podcast before we turned on record, so
exactly.
I hope it's as good.
We'll see. Let's find out.
Okay.
Nancy Treaster's expertise is rooted in lived experience. Her husband Kim was initially misdiagnosed when early symptoms of frontotemporal dementia, or FTD, were dismissed as anxiety. It took persistence and multiple evaluations before he was correctly diagnosed. Today, along with her website and podcast partner Sue Ryan, the caregiversjourney.org helps caregivers understand why getting the right diagnosis matters and how to advocate when something doesn't feel right. She brings clarity, compassion, and practical guidance to a topic many families face with little support. Nancy's mission is to empower families through essential resources and knowledge, helping them navigate the path towards peace of mind. And with that, let's not wait another moment and say hello to Nancy Treaster. Hello, Nancy.
Well, hello. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Nancy. We're so much fun and a lot to talk about. Yeah, you're great. So, and I like your partner Sue as well, Sue Ryan, and I've been on your podcast, and you guys are really doing great things with the caregiver's journey, and I am grateful for that because we can't have enough conversation, right?
That is so true. We focus on more of a advice and how-to podcast, so we're kind of choppy chop. Here's the topic, here's what we're doing, here's how you can work through it, here's the best way to do it, and try to get through it. And sometimes that is a challenge to get right down to it, quickly.
It is, and we're about let's talk about what we're going through and like the journey. It is the journey too. It's part of the journey. But so, first of all, we haven't talked a lot about frontotemporal dementia. So I would love you and it is the same diagnosis that everyone has heard about, that Bruce Willis has. And so it's become part of the zeitgeist, but I don't know if people actually understand, unless they had it or have it or dealing with it in their own family or friends or circles. So explain it and let us know what it is, because I actually don't know everything about it.
So it's one of the top 4 most common types of dementia, but once you pass Alzheimer's, which is, call it 70% of dementias, and then you do vascular dementia and Lewy body dementia, you're down in the 5%. So it's not a big percentage of dementias. But when it comes to people under 65 who get dementia, it's actually the number 1 type of dementia. for young onset dementia. So it is more prevalent in people younger than 65, normally in their 50s or early 60s. So that's first. There are a couple of variants. There actually are more than 2 variants, but there are 2 main variants. One is behavioral, and one is a language variant. However, when we talk about sort of how my husband's diagnosis came about, some of the behavioral stuff starts even in the language variant. So there's interesting, as usual, we're always looking for what are the signs and what are the symptoms and how do we know something strange is happening. Some of the things that happen with frontotemporal dementia, even in the language variant, which is called primary progressive aphasia, which is what Bruce Willis has, start with behavioral issues or challenges as well.
Mm-hmm. Is there a type of frontal? Let's just call it FTD.
Let's do that.
Be faster. Yeah. Is there a variant that does not manifest with aphasia?
Yes, there is a behavioral variant that you may never get aphasia. So the aphasia variant has some behavior to it, but and some people even call the aphasia variant the language variant of Alzheimer's, because they do, even though it's frontotemporal dementia, it does start looking towards the later parts. And I think we all know most dementias, as you get towards the later parts, they all sort of look alike anyway. But it does have some close relationship to Alzheimer's as well. So some people call it the language variant of Alzheimer's, even though it's frontotemporal dementia.
Interesting. And are doctors able to diagnose that where they can't really truly diagnose Alzheimer's until after you pass at this point, and they can actually, if they do take a look at your brain afterwards, then they can actually give you a definitive answer as to whether it was Alzheimer's or not. But with FTD, they can diagnose that.
Well, with Alzheimer's now, with the blood test, they can at least tell if you had the amyloid plaques and you had Alzheimer's. I forgot what they call it, something where they know you have all the Alzheimer's things that make up Alzheimer's. So whether you actually show symptoms of it or not, you might be one of those lucky people who never actually gets dementia, but it's very rare. So you have to have both cognitive challenges and the plaque in your blood. But they can now tell if you have Alzheimer's. Frontotemporal dementia, they are latching on to some of the Alzheimer's research to see if they can do it. There is some plaque involved in frontotemporal dementia, so they're latching on, but it's not as advanced as Alzheimer's in terms of figuring out if you have it. So it's guesswork at this point.
So it is still guesswork, because a lot of times, like you said, the manifestations of dementia of all the types cross over. They bleed into each other. And so it's really hard to tell, right? Because you and I were talking about the behavioral changes that we noticed early on with your husband and my mom are very similar. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of want to jump into that, because I think a lot of people go through this, the misdiagnosis and which actually bleeds into your family and your social circle. You might be saying something's wrong with your husband, your mom, your brother, whatever, and everyone else is downplaying it. And that is so difficult. So talk about your experience with your husband and when it started and all the details about how old he was when you first started noticing it, because I reckon from the research that I've done and talking to so many people, it feels like we can see signs 20 years earlier.
Mm-hmm. They absolutely said that about Alzheimer's specifically too, that 10 to 20 years beforehand, you start to have the medical symptoms as well. Now they're trying to figure out how to get some of these tests earlier, because they'd be able to tell us if we're on the track to get it. Which is
actually scary, because we
you
all
almost
forget
don't want
words.
to know, because you can't do anything about it.
And I know everybody that has lived with someone with dementia has got, like, if you forget a word, that's it. I'm like already I'm sweating. I'm like, okay, this is it. Like I need to do my bucket list today. It's scary.
Well, that's what happens when I tell people about so I'm getting ready to do exactly that. When I tell people what my husband was doing, you're going to go, oh my goodness, I think I have frontotemporal dementia. So I will describe it, but it is going to give you that reaction. So
with
I
some
would
caveats.
Say,
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'll try to be a little bit more and make you feel a little bit better about it. So I would say probably he was 59 when we started trying to get a neurologist involved to get a proper diagnosis, and crossed his 60th birthday before we got a proper diagnosis. But that's not for lack of trying for months beforehand. Probably 57 or so when I noticed something's wrong. Something's wrong. I don't know what it is, but something's wrong. And some of it was forgetfulness, but not that wasn't the main thing. But there was a lot of strange behavior. Impulse buy. He bought a car without telling me. A car. Exactly. I'm like, what just happened? You bought a car. We didn't even discuss it. You came home and you had a car.
And how did he present it to you? It was like, ta-da! Was it like happy?
He knew he was in trouble.
Okay.
I didn't keep him from doing it, by the way, but he knew he was in trouble. And that was just one example. I mean, just crazy stuff like that he was doing. And this is a man who loved other people, loved his neighbors, just loved to be helpful, etc. And he was doing things that I'd be like, honey, you're bothering the neighbors. You're disturbing the neighbors. Oh, I don't care. I can do whatever I want. I'm like, who is this person? It's just, anyway, that went on for a couple of years. I'm like, I don't even know who this person is. It's all very strange.
Question. Did he ever question it when you brought it up to him? Like, did he ever at one point go, yeah, that's not like me. I'm sorry. Like, no, never.
I wish.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
He defended himself completely. No, he thought I was the crazy one for even second guessing him. But what happened was he started the language part. So he started using the wrong words or skipping words when he'd talk or saying thing or it instead of a noun. And so this is the part where I scare everyone who's listening, right? Because you're like, oh, yeah, how many times have I done that? But, but it was so much more pronounced than just what you do casually, saying tuck for truck and having a conversation sometimes. And he's looking at you like what he said was perfectly, well, maybe a little bit of
clear.
What Don was saying his mother was doing, perfectly clear. And you're like, I have no idea what you just said. You're just throwing words in there. They call it word salad. You're just throwing words in there sometimes.
Yeah.
So we went out. Ironically, to the car comment, we went out in January of 2015 to buy me a car together, because this is what couples do. They go together to buy a car, right? You don't do it and then just show up, ta-da. So we went out to buy a car, and we're talking to the salespeople as we go from one dealership to another. And he really is struggling to carry on a conversation, to even keep up with the conversation and to carry it on. And we got home. Now, I had mentioned to him casually a few times that, maybe something was wrong, and he blew me off. So I just dropped it. One nice thing about dementia is there is no emergency, because it's a very long process,
true.
Right? So you can plant some seeds. Now, I never thought it was dementia. Never even crossed my mind that it was dementia. It's words. There's no memory loss here. So, it's not really my concern. But we got home from car shopping, and he's down in our terrace level basement watching TV, and all of a sudden up the stairs, I'm upstairs cooking dinner, and I hear this, Nancy, can you come down here for a minute? And I said, sure. So I went down and sat next to him on the couch, and he said, something is wrong with me. And I was like, hallelujah, because I knew something was wrong. But he finally had, through that day, just really struggled enough to where he accepted something is wrong. I know, it is sad. And I said, well,
it breaks my heart.
I think you need to go see a neurologist. We need to go see a neurologist. And he said, I think that's a good idea. So I started looking for a neurologist, found one covered by our insurance, 5 minutes away, and he wanted to go on his own. I said, okay. So he went on his own. Well, he comes back from the neurologist, and he says, well, he's going to do some tests. Oh, I asked him how it went. He said it went fine. He's doing some tests, checking his B12, all the things we know that are symptoms that can cause someone to have dementia-like symptoms. So then I come home from work a few days later, and he says, okay, the tests are all back. Everything's fine. The doctor says I just have anxiety. I'm like, okay. So I let that sit for, a few days. As a doctor, you have to assume doctors know what they're doing, right? Nothing's wrong. He's got anxiety.
And you want to hear, you want to hear that too. That's not that bad.
Yeah.
We can deal with
it's
that.
Okay. It's okay. Yeah. We just need him to calm down a little bit, right? So we go. That sits with me for a week or two, and then finally one day I go to him, and because it's continuing, the skipping words and all that. I said, honey, something else is wrong. You do not have anxiety. It's not just anxiety. Maybe you do have anxiety, but that's not all it is. Let's go back together to that neurologist and sit with him and talk to him some more. So he agreed to do that. So we made an appointment with the same neurologist again, and I went with him this time, and we sat and talked to the neurologist. Well, this neurologist, now imagine that the dementia is a language challenge. This is how it's manifesting itself. This neurologist never asked my husband a question, didn't hardly talk to him, spent all the time explaining to me about his fancy medical degree from Emory and who he knew and all this stuff. We spent the entire appointment. I'm thinking, can you talk to this man over here for a few minutes and listen to him talk? Because something's wrong with him. This guy just talked about himself the whole time and I guess justified his diagnosis. It was bizarre. So we left. And I'm like, okay, I think we need to find a new neurologist. So I started calling around for some friends, found another neurologist that a friend of mine recommended, and we go to this guy. He looks like an absent-minded professor. His socks are falling down. There's no elastic in him anymore. He's all frumpled and everything. And we go sit in his office, and he said, what's happening? And I said, well, we got a diagnosis of anxiety, but I'm concerned it's something else. He turned and started talking to my husband. He talked to my husband for 5 minutes. He looks at me and he said, he doesn't have anxiety. He's got aphasia. And I thought, I don't even know what that is, but okay. I went home and looked it up, and I'm like, oh, he really does have aphasia. Now, aphasia can be from a stroke. Aphasia can be from a brain tumor, from a brain injury. There's so many things that can cause aphasia in addition to dementia that we went back for a battery of tests. He had to have an MRI or a CAT scan, I don't remember which, but there was a lot of stuff they had to do to rule out all these other things. And then eventually, this is why we passed his 60th birthday, he got a diagnosis of frontotemporal dementia, primary progressive aphasia. But it was quite the journey to get there, as you can hear.
So it would be probably highly recommended for anyone who's listening to this and might be in a similar situation to not let the person go by themselves first, because they're not going to share the experience that you have with him. He's not going to say, hey, I've been mispronouncing words and I've been leaving words out. He's never going to say that in a million years. So rule one, go with somebody that
100%.
With you.
Yeah.
Can you give a quick, just for our audience, aphasia, like just a quick definition, simple definition?
Yep. And one of my mother's friends has aphasia from having a stroke. And she struggles to find words. She seems to be able, now aphasia comes in two different forms. There's expressive language, your ability to get words out, and there's receptive language, your ability to take on what's happening. With dementia aphasia, it might start with your expressive language. It does move to your receptive language as well. So you have a difficult time understanding what people are saying. Lots of aphasia that comes with things like stroke is just the expressive language. You can't find the words and formulate a sentence very well. And so you're struggling to participate in a conversation, but you can listen to the conversation and enjoy other people and talking and such. So it depends on what kind you have. But unfortunately, the frontotemporal dementia kind does eventually, you lose your receptive language as well.
Oh, so hard. So hard. Can we back up even a step before that and talk about, besides the words, because in the aphasia factors, what, you being so close to your husband, to Kim, what did you see? Because I think you mentioned there was some behavioral things that were different and that you clocked. Because I had the same thing with my mom. Like, I was noticing, she was being not the mom that I knew. And she didn't have any other issues, but it was like, she's spiky with me all the time. Like, why is she so spiky? who are you? And I was getting really upset, and no one else saw it. Of course, they're like, you're being super sensitive, Mom, or you're being super sensitive, Susie. She's fine. We don't see anything wrong. Like, I'm telling you, she's not herself. So maybe you had the same experience.
I did. And I would say that's super sensitive is actually kind of what's needed, right? So at some point,
yeah,
that's what the doctor said. He said, your family's, and by your family, your spouse, your daughter, your immediate family is probably the first people who are going to notice something's not wrong. And so the doctor actually needs you to be pushing on those super sensitive things, because conceptually, they're never going to get it in a 15. Now, this one doctor got it in a 5-minute conversation, but clearly it didn't happen months before. You can't count on them to.
He was the mad scientist. So,
he was the mad scientist. So cute, actually, when I think about him.
The nutty professor, yeah.
He really was. But I think being super sensitive is actually important. And I tell people when they talk to me about this is go to the doctor's office with your mother or your loved one and take a big yellow pad with you, because you're showing up with something that says, I'm here to have a conversation, and I got some things I'm concerned about, and write down those things you're concerned about, because especially if you're going to a general practitioner, they're probably not even we're working really, really hard these days to get the general practitioners trained where they are comfortable diagnosing somebody with dementia, but that's not the lion's share of them. And so they're not motivated to spend a lot of time trying to help you get a diagnosis of dementia or even get you referred to a neurologist. It's just not the lion's share of them's motivation. And so you need to show up with, this is a serious conversation. We are seriously concerned. I am seriously concerned. And and push it. And if it doesn't come out of that meeting, follow back up. You said you were going to refer us to a neurologist. We haven't gotten a name yet. So push it, because you're the one who knows.
It's true. Yeah, you do. And especially if someone's younger and who's experiencing these kinds of manifestations and they've got their skills as a human being. Like my mom was very skillful in her wit. And so she could wit her way out of a lot of, hard conversations, and especially with doctors. So she was very charming. And I watched her do it, those initial tests that they do for Alzheimer's, what day is it? Who's the president? And then the clock, the hands of the clock. And what day is it? What you tell me what day it is. Let's see how so my mom would turn it around, right? And go, oh, you're right. And so, and if I wasn't there, forget about it. She would have that doctor wrapped around her finger so fast they'd be going out to dinner that night. That's the way it would happen. And so I had to be there. I had to be. So and we are the ones that see the change. We see it. But that's all through being part of the tribe, the community. You know the baseline of somebody. You can't, it's not a one size fits all on any way. Any diagnosis of anything is not a one size fits all. So it's so important to have your team, your family, your community, whatever you want to call them. So you finally got your diagnosis. Now what?
So now we're getting our lives in order as best we can, right? So I'm trying to get our medical power of attorneys and all those things that need, powers of attorney, wills updated, those things that need to happen when you have a diagnosis of dementia. And if it's really important that you know what you can do while your loved one can still participate. So I'm not saying I did it perfect, but I did get some basic stuff done, which is nice. But I'm still working full time at the time. I'm much more aware of potential challenges. I'm trying not to push challenges on him, but I'm watching very closely what his capabilities are and what they're not. And I'm reading up, I jokingly say, trying to get a PhD on frontotemporal dementia, so that I can start to notice what the signs are. There's a lot with frontotemporal dementia. There's a loss of the ability to use appliances and mechanical things earlier than there is with Alzheimer's. So not being able to use the coffee pot or the remote or the phone. Those do happen eventually, as you know, with someone living with Alzheimer's or other types of dementia, but they happen earlier with frontotemporal dementia. So I was able to watch for some of those things and pay more attention to what he's got access to now and what he doesn't have access to anymore. And, it's not fail-safe. You might have access to something today or for 2 days in a row, and then he loses it for 2 days, but it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's coming, whatever it is. So usually those are early signs too. We're getting ready to lose this skill, whatever it is. And so I was still working, but I was also traveling. Had a global job. So I was traveling a lot internationally. So I told my boss what was happening, and I started to cut back on how far away I was going, international travel. I limited it a lot. And then slowly, as his skill set, he was still driving, as his skill set started to, he started to lose skills, I started backing up where I would only go on day trips. And then eventually not traveling at all anymore. And then eventually working from home 4 days a week. And I had someone coming into the house 1 day a week. And so I would go to work 4 days a week. And then eventually I'd work from home 100%. And eventually I worked part-time. But all of this as his skills were his ability to just live by himself and, drive himself around and deal with feeding himself and all the basics. Whereas I watched those diminish, I slowed down on everything I was doing career-wise until finally I retired so that I could stay home and take care of him.
And what were, from the first moment, what was Kim's state of mind? Was he scared? Was he in denial? Was it something that changed every day? Where was he at when he heard it? And then when you started to move forward with all these steps you had to take?
He was upset at first. He didn't get it. At this point, we were far enough along to where he didn't understand the word aphasia. He didn't understand frontotemporal dementia. He didn't understand even really conceptually what I could say he's got dementia in front of him, and he didn't flinch. Because I don't think he actually, remember, we got a language problem, right? So there's some good news in that, right? He didn't really understand the language stuff of it. So he would tell his friends when he was still driving around. I immediately, one of the other things, I immediately filed for Social Security disability. So he retired as part of this. So all of that flowed nicely as the early things that you do. But he was still driving, and his friends would say, he told them that he had something wrong with his brain. That's as best he could describe it. And then, I don't remember if it's months or maybe a year or two into it, but he forgot he had dementia. So nothing. As far as he's concerned, he's fine. Nothing's wrong with him. And from what I can tell, 80% of people, I think the stat is like 81% of people with dementia forget they have dementia. So, there's just so far you can take with that, because now you're dealing with someone who doesn't know there's anything wrong with them. That causes its own set of problems.
Heck yeah. 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 My gosh. Wait, okay. Now, this is, I'm very curious about all this. So frontal temporal, meaning it's the front part of the brain is being affected.
Yes.
That's different than Alzheimer's?
Yes,
that's a different
Alzheimer's
area
starts in a different area of the brain. However, as dementia progresses, people with Alzheimer's lose their language.
Right.
And people with frontotemporal dementia lose their memory and their coordination and a lot of the same things. So as you have the degeneration, and your cognitive capabilities diminish and your brain degenerates, it all starts to look the same in the end.
It all starts to look the same. But in the beginning, and I'm asking this specifically because my ex-husband, when I first met him, had fallen off a bus in Britain. He was British, and he had a brain injury in the front.
Yeah.
And lost his sense of smell. And it was when I was still acting, and I met this guy, and he's like playing opposite of me, and he can't remember his lines, and I'm getting so upset because he keeps, he seems normal, except that he's being a jerk because he keeps screwing up my scene, right? But I didn't know that he had just gotten through 10 weeks in hospital with, and was trying to act normal. But when I married him, which was, that's another podcast. Well, that's the one with the accent. So, and the front brain injury is really difficult because it affects your behavior, and it affects your ability to censor yourself sometimes. And the filters are gone sometimes, and I was curious if that is the same kind of manifestation with someone with frontal temporal.
That you're describing the behavioral variant, exactly. The behavioral variant is where there's a lot of difficult behavior, to say the least. Uncensored behavior, sexual, inappropriateness, all that. The primary progressive aphasia does not have much of that. I mean, there are mixed, it's called mixed, there are mixed variants, which is mixing both. But if you have pure primary progressive aphasia, you do have a little bit of behavior problems. It's mostly lack of empathy, which is, of course, not pleasant. But you don't have as much of these other symptoms. But what you just described is what the behavioral variant looks like.
Isn't that interesting? And I think about that a lot. And when you say the lack of empathy, because I would tell you that, definitively that my ex is a toxic narcissist because he had zero empathy, like zero. And I never knew if it was real or if it was from his, accident. Yeah.
It could be. It absolutely legit could be.
Right. It's very complicated and confusing and really hard on the person on the receiving end and the family. You're right. Yeah. And which brings me, because it was really difficult on my daughter, his daughter, and trying to navigate it, not because you can't understand if it's just them being a jerk and just being completely dismissive and selfish and all the bad things.
It could have also been just because he was a British actor, but
that's true too. How do you know?
You don't know.
How can you know these things? Nobody teaches you. All I know is I was intoxicated.
You married him, for goodness sakes. You tell us.
I married him. He was the love of my life, and I hate him so much.
Let me add something though. There are a lot of stories, I've heard this more than once, from people who are married to someone who's eventually diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia who are in the process of getting divorced when the diagnosis happens. Because all of a sudden your loved one is a jerk. And you are...
with a capital jerk.
Exactly. And you are like, I don't want to be married to you anymore. You're a jerk.
No.
What happened? Yeah. You used to be such a nice guy. Now you're a jerk. And so I have heard that so many times I can't tell you. People in the process of getting divorced, these are people like me who are now advocating for dementia. So I've heard their stories. And they're like, and then usually at some point it's either something like the language got really bad or their memory got bad, but something that caused them to think there was a dementia angle. And they get a diagnosis and they're like, oh, now I feel terrible for how mean I was about how much of a jerk you were, because I was so mean at everything you did, and and you couldn't control it, and it wasn't your fault. So anyway, along those lines.
That's so hard, though. I mean, talking to the caregivers or somebody, that is such a hard position to be put into, because whether we know what the diagnosis is and what the cause of it is, the motivation behind it, even if it's not, pointed and completely, motivated by the person's personality, sane personality, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Unaffected brain. Although I'd like to say that anybody that acts like that, there's something wrong with their brain, because there must be. There must be. If you're lacking empathy and you're being a jerk, there's something wrong with you. So.
You're probably right.
But it's really difficult to be in that position because you take so much, abuse, emotional abuse, and it's really hard to navigate that. And that's such a hard position to be put in to, right? Which brings me back to a conversation you and I were talking about before we recorded, which is, the backlash that Emma Willis got from Bruce Willis, like when she decided to put him into a facility that could take care of him. And I guess, let's just call a spade, shield her children from the manifestations, which aren't pretty, which are scary, which are hard for anybody of any age to really accept. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I did. I think I wrote something about it as well. I was included in somebody's article. I can't remember who it was, but because it was so frustrating to me, because she was doing such a valiant job of talking about it, but not really telling everything she knows, is what I would say.
Right.
Because you don't know, if you don't live in this world, all of the tremendously difficult things that are happening when your loved one is at home. My husband was at home until he passed away. I went through all of it. And I'm telling you, it is not pretty. And and I'll give you a few examples just because people need to know the reality of them. And Emma Willis would probably never say any of these things out loud, but they are things you don't need your 11 and 13-year-old daughters to be around. So there can be a lot of aggression, and aggravation and difficult behavior where they're being very aggressive. That's scary. And it was scary to me, and I'm a grown adult.
I was going to say, how did you do that? How did you get through that?
Well, number one, a lot of people don't like this, but I used medication for about a year and a half to help keep him sedated. And the nice thing about keeping him at home is I could add the sedative at home, keep him sedated, and then slowly but surely as he got because the nice thing about this is you don't know, it's not permanent, but you don't know it at the time. This is not permanent. His dementia is going to progress to past this point, and then he's going to be more compliant and more docile and so on. But I used sedatives, and then slowly but surely he seemed to be better in the mornings, and so I removed the morning sedative. And then, we dealt. He was still busy in the mornings, and by busy I mean walking up to the granite countertop and trying to pull it off the counter, and crazy stuff. Taking lamps and trying to carry them off with him, and they're still plugged into the wall, but not aggressive like that. You had to be scared, And then, but then that softened, and then I thought. But his afternoons were still bad. And then the afternoons started to get a little better. And I said, well, maybe we can take him off the afternoon sedative. So we took him off the afternoon sedative. And after 2 weeks, I'm like, we need to put him back on the afternoon sedative because we can't deal with this. And then maybe 6 weeks later, we tried again, and we were able to get him off the afternoon sedative. And he was busy in the afternoons, but his mornings were pretty calm. And so eventually he was just on a sedative at night to help him sleep. And I was able to unwind all of everything I did to be able to keep him at home for that year and a half. But that's something you don't need your 11 and 13-year-old daughters to see. Incontinence. I mean, they're going to sit in the chair and think it's a toilet. And do you really need your daughters to see someone pooping in a chair? I don't think so. If you don't catch them, or watering the plant, those are things that are happening and they're real. And it's not something pretty to talk about, but it is legitimately things that you have to manage through. So I was defending her big time.
It's hard for a child
Nancy,
it's hard. Yeah, I mean, it's hard enough for an adult because when they're acting out at you to not take it personally. And so for a child to, you can explain all day long, that's not really, it'd be very hard to separate that.
It's hard for anybody to not
that's
take
what I was saying.
personal.
It's hard enough for.
I'm listening to you talk, Nancy, and my heart breaks for you. And I also think what a strong woman you are. Because you love. This is like your man. This is your dude. This is your man. You made children with him, and you make love to him, and it's like all the things that And then now you're watching him poop in a chair, and it's like you to be there for him and walk him through that is like you're an angel. And I'm not, and that's that's just beautiful. And what a role model you are for people.
It was so much easier than it sounds because I got to the point mentally where I was at peace with what was happening, and I checked myself every time something happened. How would I want Kim to treat me if I were the one that had dementia and was doing this.
Beautiful.
And it is so easy to make the right decisions when you have that frame of mind. You know,
Beautiful.
He didn't poop in the chair because, you know, out of spite, you know, and how
Right.
embarrassed he must be if he figures out that if I make a big deal out of it and he realizes that was the wrong thing to do, he's going to be horrified. So instead, you got to go,
course.
oh, honey, let's go in here and get you cleaned up, you know, and then you're just trying to not make a big deal out of it because that's how you would want to be treated if you were in that situation.
Keep the dignity. Keep their dignity. It's so important.
But I always say that it, you know, even though it was difficult for me with my own mom. It wasn't my lover, you know, my partner in life. I just think that I have to say that, and I think this all the time, that couples that go through this it is such the layers of emotion that you have to deal with, and you know, we've talked to so many, and I've become friends with them, people that we've interviewed that are such great role models for that, like Tony Parker, Copeland Parker. I don't know if you've ever interviewed him, but he went the whole journey with his wife with early onset. She just passed away last year, but I mean, you know, just incredible devotion and joyful as much as they could be, and just the whole thing. And I didn't have, that's not the relationship that I was dealing with my mom. It's just got to be such a different
dynamic
mindset that you have to get into. Like the way that you could compartmentalize and be so empathetic is just, you're just incredible. Like, I'm just so proud to know you. That's just it's a beautiful thing. And you're so strong. And I mean, I say that about when I was raising my daughters. I would say, I would try to put myself in their shoes, like when they're 3 years old. Like, why is it so important that you have Minnie Mouse right now? Like, why are you so mad about that, right? Like, let me go back to there and go, oh, I get it. Okay, you had it and she took it. Well, yeah, I get it now. You know, it's like, you have to do that. You have to. It makes you, right? So I think what you're saying is so simple but so powerful.
It helps.
Put yourself in their shoes.
It helps every single thing you do. You do it so much more with so much more peace because you're not blaming them for anything. You're not wishing for the way it used to be. You're not projecting into the future what might happen. You're being right here in this moment, and you're being honest. And Don's hit the nail on the head. You're protecting their dignity every step of the way. And that is so important to, particularly to a spouse where you've had that kind of partnership all those years. We were married for, it'll be 35. He passed away 6 weeks before our 35th anniversary. So, you know, you've had that partnership and you're treating them with the most respect you possibly can in a very difficult situation for them, but trying to protect their dignity every step of the way.
Oh, incredible. I mean,
Thank you. Listen, there was nothing worse than when he forgot who I was, because he never knew who I was after that. So when he forgot who I was, we rebuilt our relationship over the course of probably months, maybe even a year. And I moved upstairs into a guest room, and he thought I was, and he asked me if I had to stop wearing my wedding ring, because if I wore my wedding ring, he wanted to know who I was married to. And who lived up there with me, because I moved upstairs in one of the kids' guest rooms because I couldn't get naked and take a shower in the bathroom because he thought I was a guest in the house. So I lived up here, and I just sort of became his caregiver. And then one day, a few months into it, a couple friend of ours came over, and they brought us lunch. They were really good about coming over through his entire dementia journey. And they brought lunch, and we're sitting there eating lunch, and I'm like, you know, he doesn't know who I am. Don't make a big deal out of it. We don't want him to feel uncomfortable. He's perfectly happy. He's nice to me. He couldn't have been nicer, by the way. And all of a sudden, the wife looks at me, and she goes, oh, my God, he's flirting with you. And he was. And he was. She was right. I didn't even notice it. And he literally reconnected with me in his new world. Now, there's an advantage to not moving them into a community because he couldn't reconnect with anybody else. I'm the only woman there outside of eventually I had a part-time caregiver. But it was really precious to see that new connection where he he would hold my hands when I walk. If I would run out and run an errand, he would come back. I'd walk in the door. He would grab both my hands, look me straight in the eyes, and say, "I like." Big smile on his face, and I knew what he meant. You know, he was so happy to see me and loved me so much as this new person in his life.
That proved that it was right.
I have so much to say about this because there's a short film, and I can't think of the name, but I'm going to put it on the show notes. I'm going to find it. It came out a couple years ago, and it's British, and it's so gorgeous because it's exactly that story. So it's about this couple, elderly couple, older than you, and the woman had dementia, and she ended up and I forget how it all manifested, but at the end of the day, it was him falling in love with her again as a new human, as a new person. Oh, but it was just to show that they always loved each other, always would love each other, and even as this new woman that he met, and didn't let on. The other person didn't let on that, you know, we've been married. That it was like they went along with it. And it was so beautiful, and it just was very profound and touching and gorgeous. But I reckon that he didn't forget you. There was a familiarity, too, that no matter what, because I don't think my mom, and I'm not saying this from an ego point of view, I just know that when I held her hand and when I walked in the room, whether it was my smell, whether it was whatever it was, the sound of my voice was comforting, happy making, and you know, it was family. She knew.
Yeah, they say that there's, and I don't know who they are, but here's what they say. They say it's a feeling, right? Love is a feeling, and so I may not know your name, I may not know who you are to me, but my feeling is that I love you. And that I feel. And so that's, I hope, and I think, I choose to believe that as well. That, you know, somewhere in there, that your heart still remembers the person, even though you don't.
100%. It's the reason why so many people died during COVID that were isolated, because even though they didn't remember their loved ones, they did remember their loved ones, and they missed their loved ones. And then they died of failure to thrive.
When you go and visit, and you know, they don't remember up here, but they do remember here in the heart. That's where they remember. It's a different way of memory. It's a different. It's
framing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that, but to know that he fell in love with you again, just proved that it was. It was. Yeah,
and I don't think he.
It was always right.
Think he forgot.
Yeah, we didn't make a mistake.
Yeah.
No, yeah. And I don't know how old you are, doesn't matter, but you look so young and you look so vibrant.
You're so sweet.
And you're just beautiful.
I turned 65 in July.
Well, you look gorgeous.
Bravo.
And
thank you.
Yeah, and you do. And I just think like you have so much life ahead of you to do. It's a whole new chapter and a whole new, you know, time for you, and you did such a good job, and you deserve to be happy, and you deserve to, you know, continue to experience life. And I know your husband would feel the same about it. You know, you did a valor kind of, you know. Yeah,
and it's really interesting. I feel really good about it now looking back, but right after and while I was doing it, I felt good about it. Like, I'm not going to be one of those people who says, oh my goodness, I could have done so much of a better job. I can't tell you how many times I told people that. I am not that person. I am doing everything now so that I will have no regrets. He passed away. I spent 2 months second guessing everything I did, thinking how much better of a job I could do. I think it's just human nature, because I had told myself my entire time, I'm so happy I'm making this the biggest priority, because I'm not going to regret how I cared for him. And then for 2 months, I regretted how I cared for him.
Oh my God.
And then I came out of it.
Oh my God, I don't even know you, and I'm going to tell you, you did a better job than anyone I've ever, you know, and I know sweet. I thought I did a good job. I mean, I also, you know, and this is my mom, and I mean, to the point where they were, you know, the chaplain wrote about me. I don't know what this poor girl's going to do when her mom dies. It's the only thing she has in her life. It's like, no, that's not true. I have a career. I have children. I have life.
Well, that's what made him think that. That's cute.
Yeah. And it was like, but, you know, my God, it's like I knew she was, you know, this was important. I needed to be there. She, you know, it doesn't, of course you have to be there for someone that you love. You can't just go, okay, bye, you know. I'll check in.
Yeah.
Just like, what do you, I don't understand.
Well, and it sounds like you did the same thing. How would you want them to be with you if things were reversed, right? You would want her to be there for you. So
I tell
just
my
like
daughters,
Don's being
just
there
remember,
for his mom already.
Yeah, I just want my lips outlined. Just remember that. I tell them that, and don't put some dark lipstick on me. Never. Pink. Please.
I just want them to brush my teeth. I
brush my teeth too. Yeah. I try to make it light. I just try to make it. But so, and you didn't have any regrets. That was one of my questions. So you took the words right out of my mouth.
I did. I mean, seriously, for 2 months, I just second guessed everything. First, I thought it took him 8 days to pass away. Once we decided it was, that there was no recovering. Mm-hmm. And you thought the day he died that he got hit by a bus, that this was completely a surprise. And I mean, I went through, what just happened? How can that have happened? How could he have passed away? Oh
my God, you're totally answering my question. I was going to ask you. I was like, what? I literally have this question here. Like, what kind of grief did you go through? Because,
oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh. Okay, carry on, because this is so important.
I'm like, how could he possibly have passed away? I don't know how that could possibly happen. And then I will tell you this, I've learned this, never tell someone that the person's in a better place. Maybe I could have heard that 6 months later, right? But right then, the only place he wasn't is at my house with me. And so I don't care where he was, in heaven, with God, it doesn't matter. He's not at my house with me, and that is not a better place, wherever it is. So that was, stressful. And when people would say that, I think, please stop saying that. Please stop saying that. So eventually you can hear that. I mean, it takes a few weeks, right? A couple of weeks. And then there was and I will say, it also felt like having a special needs child that you were responsible for. You feel like you failed. I was responsible for this person, and they did not survive. So somehow and even though no one survives dementia, it's not going to happen, right?
No one survives life.
No one survives life.
Even better. Even better.
I mean, it's true. I mean, it is a limited run. We're on a limited run.
Exactly. But somehow I felt this is the person I'm responsible for. I've let him down. Anyway, I got through all that. It took me a couple of months. And Sue and I were already we started the caregiver's journey in August of 24. He passed in December of 24. So it took me a couple of months. And then in probably end of February, early March of 24, I said, okay, now I'm ready to really put my heart and soul into the caregiver's journey, not just a side project, but this is going to be. So now I work 35, 40 hours a week. I've been retired for since August of 23, but I work 35, 40 hours a week on the caregiver's journey because it fuels me. I wake up every morning and think, oh, I can help somebody today. And, if we do this, somebody's life will be better. And, you get a comment on YouTube or a comment on Apple Podcasts and someone will say, I needed to hear that today. And you're fueled and you just keep going. So I've been able to turn it into something that has given me so much passion that I could never have imagined having the energy behind. I couldn't imagine having any energy when I was at the end of my caregiving. And to have so much energy every day to do something is a blessing. And it was fed from this disaster. So
same. I feel the same way. You sort of you find this groove, and it's actually I think it is the legacy of that relationship and what that person meant to you. I think that you still get to live with them because it's their journey that has motivated this. And I think it's a reflection of how much love was there, and is there, and clearly you had so much. And I want to tell you, no one ever told me, maybe because I was projecting not to ever say it, like she's in a better place, because I was always fearful that she was going to die. Like I kept going, I knew she was going to die, obviously, but of course we did have a pact, my mom and I was like, we're not dying, that's for other people. No, we had, and I was like, Mom, remember that deal we had? Hello.
Stop it.
Yeah, stop it. Don't be a liar, and so I knew it was coming, but I didn't look forward to it. I didn't think she's going to be in a better place. That didn't enter my mind. I thought that I was still had delusions of grandeur, that I was going to make her days as good as they could be. And I did my best. I have no regrets at all. I showered her with love, and that's the best I could do. And I sang music for her every single day. I went and did my, a private concert, and that's all you can do. And you do the best you can do, and then you carry that with you for the rest of your life, and you do great things with what you guys are doing too. And it's fulfilling, it's purposeful, and purpose feels good, right?
Sure does. Sure does.
It feels really good. What piece of advice would you give? What's the one thing that you want to gift the audience with that you think? I know it's a tough question, but what might that be?
If I could, I wish I could accelerate caregiving. I'm a certified caregiving consultant. Frankly, I went through that certification before we started the caregiver's journey because I felt like I need to understand a broader view of caregiving beyond just my experience, right?
Right.
So I went through the training to be a certified caregiving consultant, and she describes different levels of caregivers, the woman who runs the training. And there is the freshman caregiver. Well, she has the anticipatory caregiver. Then there's the freshman caregiver. You're just getting started, right? This is when things are pretty easy. And then there's the entrenched caregiver. You are deep in it, and you can't even hardly see how to get your head above water. And then there's the pragmatic caregiver. And the pragmatic caregiver is the one who has found the peace I was telling you about, has found the way to be in the moment, has found the way to accept the way things are, and
lean into it.
Be present in the moment, not just be okay, but be present, lean in, be present in that moment, right? And my mother cared for my father in Parkinson for 25 years. My mother-in-law cared for my father-in-law, who I also cared for both of them. They didn't drive. They lived 3 miles away, so I took care of him. He had Alzheimer's. Neither one of them ever got to a pragmatic caregiver. They were both still trying to fix the situation. They were both still wishing for the way it used to be, and everything. If I could wish for people and teach them how, and I can't, how to become a pragmatic caregiver, how to get over the hump of being entrenched and get to the point where you can accept that things are the way they are and be in the moment and be present, you will change your entire caregiving experience for both yourself and your care receiver, because you'll be a calmer, more confident, patient caregiver. And of course, a calmer, more confident, patient caregiver is a wonderful thing for a care receiver to have, someone who is not, running around like a chicken with their head cut off. And so I don't know. That's not advice. That's more I wish I could fix it for everyone.
That is advice, because I think that that's what our film, My Mom and the Girl, was trying to communicate, is that, for a very long time I tried to keep my mom in our world, and that's very stressful on everybody, including yourself. And then when you lean in, like you said, when you lean into their world, and then that's when you can relax and realize that, get real and say, this is our reality now, this is the new reality, and now you can find the joy. Now you can find those joyful moments, because there are joyful moments. And, and I talk about becoming the mom. When I became mommy, the day, and I remember the moment, and I literally had this swell of endorphins that came over me. I was like, oh, she's safe, and I'm like her mom now, and I'm going to take good care of her. And look at her, she's happy. I was looking up at her when I was driving away when she was living with me, and she was there like watering the flowers on our balcony in our live work loft, because that's a place to bring somebody with Alzheimer's. But she was the queen of the community. Everyone loved her. She was going everywhere, and I was like, oh my God, she's happy, she's content, look at her, she's picking the flowers that are just growing off. But okay, why is she doing
whatever, she has dementia, so okay.
It's okay. She's being a little bit of Morticia, Adam's family. She's cutting the flowers. Anyway, the point is that that makes your life better. And it's not fake. It is real. It's authentic. When you get that, you felt you felt good. I see it in what you're saying. You are emblematic of it.
I just wish every caregiver could get there. And it's so sad when you see it not happening. You know, you can't talk somebody into it. It's a frame of mind. You have to get there on your own. You can't talk somebody there. You can't teach them how to do it. So.
It's love, but that's love. That is also the definition of love. Like I'm sorry, like the way that you're pragmatic. I think pragmatic caregiving equals love, and I'm not saying these people that can't get there to love less. It's just love differently, because you and I feel a kinship about that kind of devotion to someone that you love, and I would do that for anybody that I love. And it's my heart was. It's just, and it's selfish too on my part. I loved her and I wanted her, and I used to think how lucky I was that when I did have to put her in a facility that I got to see her, that I got to go and make her laugh and sing and sit on her lap and make mudgy and all the stuff that you want to do, and still be the mom and the daughter, at the same time. So I wish that everybody got there, but I think that it is love. That's the.
And when they sense that you're at peace, because Susan used to always say, when a nurse would come in and she had a certain energy, and your mom would kind of recoil with even that person not even saying anything. So when you're at peace,
that's scientific.
They are just going to feed off of that, and it makes their life so much better. Look, if we could apply this to just us as people in life.
Good point.
Forget dementia. In this stage, how much happier would you be when you're not worried about, what might be, what happened, blah blah blah. Right. It would just make you just a better person in general.
Babies don't talk. Babies don't talk, and they poop in their bed, and they do all the things, and we go, "Oh my gosh, how cute!" and we love them, and and we understand them,
and we don't try to check, and we don't worry about why it's that way.
Yeah.
Right, and we just go, "Oh, they're happy," because we know they're happy because they're going to show. We get it because it's a whole nother language, or they're not happy, or they're hurting, or they're this and that. We know because we're looking, don't get me started about ageism. Anyway, but I want to just, it is such a good segue into why we're here, why Don and I are talking about this every as much as we can.
If any episode that we've done up to this point proves our title, what we're all about, it's this one, and that's because this was all just filled and all about love, and that's because love is powerful, love is contagious, and love conquers all. As we thank everybody for watching, listening. If you like what you saw and heard today, please share, subscribe. Definitely all the information about the caregiver's journey will be in the show notes. And also... yes, Susan.
Yeah, don't forget we're about our walk in September on the 27th for the inaugural Long-Term Care Reform Day. You can sign up on roar4ltc.org. We will gladly love to have you join us. It's so important. We need to make people aware of what's happening to people that we love so much and who are vulnerable. And this is our way to have some agency to do something and to be loud and proud about our position and unapologetically ask for reform. And it's long overdue. Thank you so much. We love you. Keep coming back. And we'll see you next time.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.